Okay. Carolyn.
And let us just pray. Our Father and our God, we thank you for this day, a day that has been filled with your love, your protection, and brand new mercies, that we may be brought safely here for the purpose of this political forum. We bring the needs of our government before you and ask you to bless on behalf of this political forum. We ask for God counsel, and wisdom for each person running for office, and that your kingdom of righteousness will be manifested in the hearts of all those in authority and those who are seeking positions of authority. We pray for your wisdom that we, your people, will act in obedience, that your power will flow in our lives, in our city, and in our communities, that we may be pleasing in your sight. In the name of Jesus, we pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We are grateful to God. Thank you, Carolyn Williams, for that prayer. Let me share this real quick. My page did not come up, so we'll be on Union's page, OBSC's page, and Union's YouTube page for this evening. So, again, we want to welcome each and every one of you to this moment of knowledge, understanding, presentations, whereby we will be able to hear from those who are aspiring for office, as well as those who are in office, so that we can hear what they would like to do to improve the community in which we live. Let me give you the rules of the day. This is important. Each candidate will get 1.5 minutes for their opening statement. There will be 5 minutes for each candidate for questions and answers. And then after that time has been completed, they will have 1 minute for their closing statements. And so, with that being said, again, we welcome you. We have sent information out to all the candidates so that they will know exactly how we will conduct ourselves as we continue to move forward in this forum. Well, I'm excited and privileged to have a young lady who is going to come. She's going to share some very pertinent information concerning new voting rules. And so we are grateful to God for Jalada Aslam being here with us. And we are going to let her handle her business and take over from here. Jalada, we are in your hands.
Thank you so much, Pastor Harrison. It is a pleasure to be with you, the Union Baptist family, and the community this evening. My task, as you assigned it, was to review the changes in Ohio's voting laws. A lot of people have heard that there have been some major changes to the way we vote in Ohio. And so we continue to try to educate the community about it. And Pastor, I think you have my PowerPoint presentation. If you could bring it up so we can share it with the audience. Thank you very much. So the changes came about as a result of House Bill 458. You can go ahead and move through the presentation. 458 was passed pretty quickly last December during what is considered lame duck session. It was supposed to be substitute of another bill. I know those of us who've been paying attention were looking at 294 that was introduced in June of 2021, and there were some pretty significant changes, nowhere near what 458 had, but there were some changes, and we have been watching and watching. Well, it sat dormant for over 17 months. And at the end, before they finished the General Assembly session at the end of last year, they combined it with the original 458. Next slide, please. 458 was originally introduced to remove special elections in Ohio. So you know how sometimes we have elections in August, or there'd be some issue on the ballot and they'd hold special elections. Well, the legislature thought that it was too expensive, and so except for when you needed to fill a congressional seat, we would no longer have special elections in Ohio. Next slide, please. Governor DeWine signed 458 January 6th of this year. And you'll see the next slide. Secretary of State Frank LaRose went ahead on February the 7th, issued a directive to all the boards of elections across the state of Ohio that the new changes would in fact be implemented for this next upcoming election. So the May 2nd primary election, these new regulations will be in effect. Next slide. Go ahead, you can go to the next one. So here are this is the beginning, the pretty big one, is every voter must now have a photo ID. The photo identification that is considered valid by Ohio law is now an unexpired Ohio's driver's license. And again, that could be commercial, your regular, restricted, temporary, even a suspended license, as long as it's current and it has your picture on it, is considered a valid ID. An unexpired Ohio state identification card, that is the state identification that you would get from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, a passport or a passport card, and then the U.S. military ID, a veteran's ID, an Ohio National Guard ID. Now, the identification that has been issued by county veterans departments is not considered acceptable in terms of voting. Next slide, please. And you'll see here, this is a graph from the Secretary of State's office where you see a lot of X's, the things that are no longer acceptable. Well, unfortunately, the bottom got cut off, and all those empty spaces are utility bills, check statements, bank statements, your check stub, the things that people used to be able to use in lieu of a picture ID, you can no longer use. Next slide. Now, the law provides for everyone to be eligible for a free state identification card if you don't have a current driver's license or another acceptable ID effective April the 7th. So if someone wants to vote and they don't have a picture identification, then they will be eligible to get a free state ID as of April the 7th of this year. The voter is not eligible for a free ID if you have a valid driver's license from another state. So if you have a current valid driver's license from Pennsylvania or Michigan, you would not be eligible for a free Ohio ID. Ohio state ID cards currently cost $10. However, in order to get the ID, you have to provide proof of age and citizenship. If you don't have your birth certificate and you have to get a copy of it, currently birth certificates in Ohio run about $25. So you may get some relief as far as the free ID, but you still may have to pay to get a copy of a birth certificate. Next slide, please. Vote by mail changes. There are several changes to the vote by mail process. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is now 7 days before Election Day. It previously was 3 days. All mail-in ballots must be received no later than 4 days after Election Day in order to be counted. The previous deadline was 10 days after Election Day. Mail-in ballots must be postmarked no later than the day before Election Day. And unfortunately, even if your ballot is postmarked before Election Day, before the day before, if it's postmarked a week before, if it does not arrive within those 4 days after Election Day, it will not be counted. Ballots may be returned to, go back for this. I just wanted to go over a couple things. Ballots may be returned to elections drop box no later than the close of election, and that's 7:30 on Election Day. No photo ID is required to vote by mail. And absentee ballot requests must be made on the official form. What they used to allow is as long as you wrote down all the information that was required on the form, you could actually write a note or write a letter to the Board of Elections and say, this is my name, I live at this address, these are the last 4 digits of my social security number. I like to vote in the primary election, I want a Democratic ballot, et cetera, and they would send it to you. Now that's not acceptable. It has to be on the actual form. Okay, next slide. College students, state students who go to school here in Ohio, but live out of state. They can register to vote using the last 4 digits of their social security number, and then they can vote by absentee using those last 4 digits of the social security number, as long as they're not registered to vote and voting in another state. So someone can come here, they, for example, they live in Texas, they're going to YSU, they want to vote in Ohio because they feel that since they go to school here, most of their life is here, they can vote here and they can vote by mail as long as they're not registered to vote in their home state of Texas. Next slide. The day before voting, before election day, is no longer an early in-person voting day. We used to be able to vote the Monday before election for 6 hours, like I think it was 8 to 2. They will no longer allow that. Next slide. Ballot drop box rules. So some of these were already in place, and the legislature just decided to codify them. Some of them weren't in place. Each Board of Elections can permit voters to use the drop box for ballots, absentee applications, even voter registration cards, and I know some of them do. However, there can only be one drop box per county, and that is regardless of how big the county is. I know for a fact in Columbus, Franklin County, they used to have 3 drop boxes because there was so much traffic and so many people returning ballots, particularly during the presidential election. Doesn't make any difference. There's only one drop box. So, that line of cars may be extremely long. The drop box will be open until the close of polls on election day. And the Board of Elections are supposed to have 2 people from opposing political parties empty the box out while people are voting, so that there's checks and balances. So there should be one person, one Republican and one Democrat emptying the box. Next slide. So one of the things that we did find out is there's an organization, a national organization called Vote Riders, and they specialize in helping voters get actual photo IDs. Unfortunately, this has happened in many other states, and now Ohio has entered into that really bad company of having one of the more restrictive voter ID laws in the country. And so Vote Riders' mission is to make sure that no eligible voter is prevented from casting a ballot because they lack an ID or because of some sort of confusion. They also educate voters and assist voters to get an ID. They inspire and support organizations, volunteers, and communities to sustain voter ID education. This is right off of their website. That's why you see voteriders.org on the bottom to give them credit for
30 seconds.
Next one. And so what they do is they help with voter ID assistance, ID clinics. They have a help hotline. They have voter ID info cards, and they do trainings and presentations. And all of their services are free of charge. Next slide. I think I'm done. That's just a slide showing you that you can go to their website and you can request voter ID cards. They're free. They will send them to you. I actually just did this, and they came in probably 7 days. They're really quick. So,
Gelada, we want to thank you so much for a brief, quick, and concise presentation.
That's right.
We appreciate you so much, and we thank God for what you're doing and helping us to know what is taking place. So,
Absolutely.
again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We are now going into the first ward. Those are the races that we are going to look at. We see that we have Julius Oliver and Tracy Randall. So what we're going to do is bring Julius Oliver on board right now so that he can share. You have 1.5 minutes for your introduction. We have questions, which will be 5 minutes, and then you will have 1 minute for your closing arguments. Julius, we're in your hands, sir.
Thank you, Pastor. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Harrison and your team for having me on today. For those that don't know me, I'm Councilman Julius Oliver, Councilman of the First Ward, um, military, Army veteran, um, former steel worker. I've lived in Youngstown my entire life, except for the time I spent away in the Army Engineer Corps. Basically, I'm here today just to remind the citizens of the First Ward that I've worked very hard for my ward. Coming into this, not being a politician at all, not being affiliated with the political field at all, just having a heart for the people, having the passion, and just having that wherewithal to try to do something for my community. I think the First Ward has grown leaps and bounds since I've been in this seat, and I just am asking the voters to keep me in the seat a little while longer so we can get some more things done in the city.
I appreciate that, sir. We're going to begin. The first question is, what are your suggestions for the federal stimulus money?
Which pot of money are you speaking of, Pastor?
I have no clue because it's just basically questions from people. So um, I know that money came to the city that is divided among the wards. So if you can kind of give us an idea about that, that would work.
Okay, I can speak to a little bit to both ARP funds, both from City Council's allotment as well as the administration's allotment, which are kind of all within the same pot. Within the ARP funds for the city, basically those funds go according to the guidelines of federal COVID funding. The mayor and his team are working hard to try to get those monies out into the community. As far as First Ward goes, I'm trying to do legacy things with my money, things that will be affecting the community in the First Ward for years and generations to come. Those funds right now are being used, which later this week I'll be going to Washington and having an audience with the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Ms. Fudge, and those monies will be going towards solving the disparities of both job creation, entrepreneurship, and our youth in the city. It is a widely supported youth entrepreneurship program, which will deal with every side of town, but particularly in the First Ward, both putting people into business, creating jobs, and building businesses, those mom and pop shops to come for the future. That's one. Two, I am building houses in the First Ward. One thing I believe as a leader is you need to be able to have the ability to inspire people. So building my own house with my family and my wife was not just something we did just because, but that's something to inspire everybody. And I couldn't just build my house. God made a way for these ARP funds to come. So we're building houses in the First Ward for other people that can qualify to get those houses. And that has started a housing boom really in Youngstown, where there are multiple housing projects coming to the First Ward. And that's leadership by inspiration. That's two. The third thing that I'm doing is putting together Falls Playground again. That community has been waiting for a playground to be put in that area in Falls and Hillman for over 10 years. The mayor and I have come up with a plan to be able to put that park back into place. And we also put an entrepreneur by the name of Daniel Littles in business with some of those ARP funds to beautify the place around the park on three corners, so that it wasn't just a new park put in, but the neighborhood had an entire beautification process done around the park. And those are just a few of the things we're doing with the monies, as well as going towards fixing people's roofs, some housing improvements, and a plethora of other things to come.
One last question. What are the challenges and opportunities facing the community at this time?
There are multiple challenges facing Youngstown, including the First Ward. One being the lack of livable wage jobs. We know that livable wage jobs would definitely help when it comes to the aesthetics of the community, as well as preventing crime. But I look at it this way, and I'm gonna try to pull back from answering these questions so stiff. But I look at it like this in the first ward. There are a lot of problems, but every problem for me is a business that could be open to solve those problems. So that's what I'm concentrating on, trying to encourage people, not just from the legislative seat or from the body of City Hall, but in my life, period, trying to inspire and pull people to solve those problems by entrepreneurship, by getting into business for yourself, by I mean, we gotta face it. Youngstown dealt with the crack epidemic in the 80s, the steel mills closing in the 70s, deregulation, which made it possible for all our city employees to leave the city. Youngstown is still suffering from those same problems. And those are the problems that I'm trying to attack from the first ward. Those are the problems I'm trying to attack by working with my colleagues and now working with the current administration. But all these problems can be solved if we just realize who we are in Youngstown and that we can do this together. We can do this thing. We're doing it together.
Give me your closing statement.
My closing statement, Pastor, would be that I am a leader by example. I am a leader by passion. I am a leader by inspiration. I still have the same childlike imagination that I did when I first got in the seat. Definitely did not expect for things to be the way that they are, but I've learned a lot. I've learned how to work with people. I've learned how to bury the hatchet in a lot of different situations in order to progress the city forward. And I would like to continue to be this inspiration in the city's first ward. I believe that to be a leader, you have to have a heart of the people. You have to have a heart for future generations. No decisions I'm making right now is for us today. Every one of these decisions and things that come down are for generations to come because they'll be here when we're not. So why not put them in a better position? That's me, Councilman Julius Oliver, First Ward. Thank you.
Councilman Oliver, thank you so much for your participation. We really appreciate your efforts in trying to move the First Ward forward. You have a fantastic evening, okay?
Thank you. You too, Pastor.
All right.
Likewise to your team.
Thank you. We have another young lady who is here with us. Her name is Tracy Randall. And so we're going to give you a minute and a half to give us your opening statement. And then after you've done that, we will have 5 minutes of questions and answers starting now.
Hi, good evening, Pastor and Kim and anybody else out there who's listening. I appreciate it, the time and the invitation. My name's Tracy Randall. I grew up all my life in Youngstown and I'm a graduate of Wilson High School. I started out in the medical field over near Northside Hospital, administrative medical field. So I've done some medical billing, inpatient, outpatient, neurotrauma, orthopedic trauma, radiology. So I've always been on the administrative end of healthcare. And I feel that the operative part of that word is care. And I really am somebody who cares about our community and the way that this journey has gone. It's allowed me to see things that I'd never imagined. And my heart is very full right now to care about our community in First Ward.
Thank you so much. I have some questions for you, okay?
Thank you.
The first question is, why do you want to be First Ward council person?
The biggest reason is because there are people that are here and now who have lived all their lives. They've raised their children. They've paid off their homes. They're living in blight. They've lived through most of the crime and the drug era, and they want peace and they deserve peace, and they're not getting it here in their community. I want to remember the people who've stuck around, and there is a great legacy here in Youngstown of families, generations of families who want to stay here. They want to give up their homes and to their grandkids and just continue on in their neighborhoods. And with all of the abandonment that seems to have happened to our neighborhoods, it seems as though these different areas of the First Ward, there are pretty much 5 different areas of the First Ward, but they've been left behind. They have been really unacknowledged as part of the first ward. And I'm talking about the lower south side, the east side, the Smoky Hollow area, the part of the north side over by YSU. Um, there's several areas of the north side who are part of the first ward and the east side who've never even met their councilman. So, when I went knocking on doors, they were like, "Who are you?" And I told them, "I'm here to help." So that's why I'm here.
Well, if elected, what would you do to improve the ward?
I would really like to somehow subsidize people who have stayed in their homes. And we have 111 houses that are on the demolition list. And there are people out there that are living in homes that are worth less than a car. Their values are so low. If something happened, a big project that needed to be done or repair in their home, they may not be under the guidelines so that a company such as YNDC could help them, because those federal income guidelines are so low that if you have any kind of pension, retirement, or you make a little bit of money, you don't qualify. And that's something that those people are kind of on the cusp where they don't have the value in their home, but they can't get any kind of help from the government or grants or anything like that. So I'm hoping that I can help people stay here by creating something that will be available to them, not based on income, because let's face it, if anybody's still here, they're not really doing that well.
Let me ask you this next question. And if elected, what are your thoughts about the federal stimulus money, ARP money?
Well, one of the biggest things is taking care of organizations that are taking care of themselves. In particular, there's a Little League football program that is self-funded, and things like that. Teaching the kids about sports, that also goes into them learning discipline, teamwork, how to be a good citizen. Those are the things that really matter, not dreams, but reality. We have something in place for these kids to turn into good young ladies and gentlemen. And so I really want some of that ARP money to go to existing organizations that have proven to be successful, but have not really been acknowledged in terms of funding from the city in any way.
So do you intend to include the community on how this money is spent?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There is, like I said, I would like to establish a program that would help people who have low value homes who want to stay and make repairs on their homes so that they don't end up fleeing like a lot of these families do. Their house is not worth anything and they ended up abandoning because they can't sell them, or they can't sell them and get money to move somewhere else. They barely have enough selling their house for the value that it is to put a down payment on a house somewhere else.
Give us your closing statement.
I am like council. I don't have any kind of political background, but one of the biggest things that I feel needs to happen with our council is communication. So I am going to do my best to listen to people. It's really important to connect and to let people know that they have somebody that's going to listen to them. So I want to have a relationship with people out in the first ward that, they haven't been heard for a while.
Tracy, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to share with the community on tonight, and we appreciate your participation and your input. You have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Pastor.
Well, we're going to move on to the second ward, and we have with us right now Jimmy Hughes, who is the current council person. So Councilman Hughes, we want you to give us for about a minute and a half your introductory statement, and then after that we'll go into 5 minutes of question and answering, and then your closing statement. So you can begin right now.
I appreciate that. And thank you.
Your sound is breaking up. So I don't know if you can improve that or not, but we'll do the best we can to hang in there with you.
Maybe it's what's going on? Does it sound any better?
Yes, sir. You got it.
Okay, I think it might have been my way my phone was sitting down. Basically, what I was going to try to do for my introduction statement is just it's short and it's about a 30-second thing. Youngstown is my life. I've been in here for more years than most. You know, I wasn't born here. I was born in Alabama. I came up here. We moved into the projects in Kimmel Brooks the first year they opened up. I was a student at Harrison Elementary School the first year it opened up. And basically, I've been working the majority of my adult life with the city of Youngstown. So it's just like unfinished business. So my introduction statement is that I get things that business is not finished.
Thank you so much. We're going to begin with our questions. Okay. What are your suggestions on how to spend the ARP money in your ward?
You know, when the money first come out, Pastor, there was a lot of meetings. The mayor had meetings in every kind of group and every kind of location and throughout the city. And I think he still lists them on his, the outcome of those on his Facebook page. No, excuse me, on the city's web page. I've had meetings and I had group sessions and taking, you know, meticulous notes about what people was asking to be done. The spectrum was all over the place. My basic thing was health, safety, and welfare. You know, I want housing to improve. I want people's safety to improve. You know, and obviously, you know, we care a great deal about those issues. So, however it can affect us, I look at it as a big picture. What if, you know, if we had all the time when we were thinking about if I only had this kind of money, what would I do? So that's where I'm at. We're looking at those kind of improvements, using the money for that kind of improvement. There's always been, if you had your nose to the ground, you can see what's needed, especially in my ward, because that's basically where I lived at for the last 65 years.
The next question is, why did you vote against the new ambulance service?
We had a lot of time, and I thought about this pretty good, but we had a lot of time to look at the situation with the ambulance crew. We had conflicting information that was coming to us as council people, as well as the citizens of Youngstown. We were told once that the ambulance service that we was using was the only one that can do that kind of work. You know, only one. They was the largest in the country. And then all of a sudden we find out that we got the largest in the state of Ohio. The ownerships came and addressed council and said throughout that whole period of time, which is like a year and a half almost or so, and he looked us dead in the face and told us that he didn't even know that we was in the need of an ambulance service. And I found that was disingenuous. I found that was not sincere. And I thought we had options. We had plenty of options. We could have easily bought 10 ambulances. We could easily corporate that out like we do the Covelli Center. The Covelli Center, you know, how we attained that and how it's being ran, we could have done the same process with the ambulance service, and we didn't have to give almost $4 million to a private company that's going to bail out on us one day, no matter what, you know? And the fact that they are presently working in Warren, Ohio, and not charging them a cent. They're doing and they're living off their means to do Warren. I just can't believe that they can do it over in Warren. They don't need $3 million, $4 million from us. And I thought the better alternative, we should establish our own ambulance service and allow it to be administrated by a company similar to this, or the ones, the company that left, they sold most of the equipment to this company, and I think their crew is working for this company. So, we could have done the same thing and just having somebody else manage the program for us.
So, what are you going to do to improve the streets and roadways on the east side?
Well, the streets and roadways on the east side has always been a problem for the administration. What the administration does is that they allocate so much money every year to resurface the streets in Youngstown. When you look at the improvement in downtown and South Avenue and those corridors that they get millions and millions of dollars for, and they, which they just, on my watch, they've sent millions and millions of dollars to improve it. The east side was not a part of that. There was no plan for the east side. On top of the roadways, the city takes no responsibility for any sidewalks in the city of Youngstown. And from the day one, I'm saying they're saying that we passed a city ordinance years ago that made the property owners responsible for sidewalk, the double strips, and the trees and whatnot, and the damage and repairs to them. A lot of my constituents are seniors up into their 90s, almost 100 years old, and they're just they can't afford to take care of sidewalks. They can't afford to take care of the trees that's been planted in the double strip. So it's going to be up to the city what's going to happen. I'm pushing a good part of my ARP money for a sort of an explosion in some of the streets in my ward that has, I'm just talking about resurfacing. I'm really not talking about, playing this and that. But here's the thing they've done. They've closed off more streets on the east side and just said, we're not going to use them. That was before my time. And there's people that's complaining about that, but that's the case, but I'm looking for the administration to improve on the amount they've been doing on an annual basis, as well as adding some of my ARP money to improving the streets, leastwise in my ward.
Give us your closing statement.
My closing statement is that when you look at what the duties and responsibilities of the interests of the council peoples, you look at that we are legislators primarily, but 99% of my calls and the things that my constituents want, they want to walk out their door and see a better neighborhood. They want to walk out their door. They want to go down the street and be able to walk on the sidewalk. They want to get in their car and drive on the better streets in their neighborhoods. They want to go to their parks. They want to go to their playgrounds. They want to see all of that improve. And that's what I'm getting pretty much from my constituents. And that's what I'm focusing on, along with fire and police, a better service fire. I don't want to ever see fire stations closed down, and that's what's going on now, and that's an interest of mine.
Thank you so much, Councilman Jimmy Hughes. Thank you so much for being here with us on this evening. We appreciate your participation and your input.
Thank you for allowing me. Appreciating Kim. I didn't want to overlook you earlier, but hello and
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, our next participant is, if I have this, yes, Ricole Talton. You need to unmute, if you will, and we're going to give you a minute and a half to introduce yourself. We'll have 5 minutes of questions and answers, and we will proceed from there. So, Ricole, unmute yourself and share with us. You're still muted. You're still muted. There, so Ricole, unmute yourself and there you go. With us. All right, you got a minute and a half for introduction.
Hello, everyone.
With questions
Can
and
you hear
answers.
me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Hi, my name is Ricole Talton, and I am your second ward candidate. and I thank you guys for having me here today. What? No, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Hi, my name is Ricole Tautone, and I am your second ward candidate. And I thank you guys for having me here today. What? No, I'm unmuted.
Okay, Ricole, we're
Can you hear
having
me?
something technically wrong. There is this delay. You look like you're
Hi,
frozen,
my name is
but
Ricole
the clock
Tautone.
is ticking. So we
It's
got to
like
get
a
that.
delayed reaction or something.
Okay, so here's what we're going to, if you have someone else in that room who is
I
watching,
can't hear.
they have the delay. Can you hear us now? If you are watching on Facebook, you need to cut that off of Facebook and just be live right here. Now, how's that?
I can't hear.
You can't hear. Okay. We're gonna
I
have
can't hear
to.
you guys.
You can't hear us. We're gonna put you in the background for just a second. See if we can't figure out what to do. So
I
give us
can't
a minute.
hear. I can't hear
Okay.
anything.
We'll come back to you in just a moment. Okay. Okay, while we are getting that straightened out, hopefully, and Kim, you know, I'm gonna put that in your hands to do that, okay? So that maybe there's a reason why she can't hear on her device, and we go because if she's listening on Facebook, there's a tremendous delay that takes place there. So I'm gonna put that in your hands. We'll come back to Ricole in a little bit. At this time, and let's see, where is he? We have Patrick Kelly, who is here with us for the fifth word. We're going to give you a minute and a half for your introduction, and then we'll have 5 minutes of questions. You can begin right now.
Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate it. And Kim, you left the screen. I was going to be Kim first and Pastor second. So my name is Patrick Kelly. I am the Fifth Ward Sitting Councilman. I was given that position about a month or two ago, and believe I've hit the ground running. I am a lifelong citizen of Youngstown, born and raised. I've actually touched all sides of town. I was in North Side in the projects when I was born, and the East Side, and we settled in the Lower South Side, Buckeye Circle area. I'm a 30-year retired employee of the Youngstown Police Department, and I am currently the Director of Security for the Youngstown City Schools.
Thank you so much. And here we go with our questions. If elected, what's the future plans for the Fifth Ward?
I'm like my counterpart, Jimmy Hughes. Safety is big for me, and I believe that you get twofold with me. I'm able to actually go to your house because I'm still holding a law enforcement badge, so to speak, and I just want a better Fifth Ward. I want transparency. I've been on the other side of the desk. I've been an employee for so long, but now it's almost like I'm an employer. So I'm looking at it in two different sets of glasses. So that's basically what I'm looking for in the Fifth Ward.
With that being said, what are your ideas for spending the federal stimulus money, the ARP money?
Well, that's a twofold for me because unfortunately, a lot of it was spent before I took the seat, and I partnered with my Fourth Ward Council person, Mike Ray, and we gave money to beautify Mahoney Avenue because I believe that any road that leads into the city should be beautified because now you're coming into Youngstown, Ohio, and everybody on this panel and everybody is sitting candidate loves Youngstown, Ohio, and we could all agree with that. And I just think that it's an eyesore. If you come in here, I'll just give you a prime example, and it's no shot at a business, but when you come up Mahoney Avenue, across the bridge, the first thing you see is a lady in a negligee. I mean, that to me I just don't like that, but that is what it is. That's why I believe it was $350,000 for sidewalks and signage, along with my counterpart in Fourth Ward. So that's my thing. I like to beautify Youngstown because I just think if you see an eyesore, then it becomes an eyesore, and if you see beauty, it's in the eye of the beholder. So that's the answer to my question there.
So are there any other improvements that you've made since you've been appointed to the Fifth Ward?
Well, unfortunately, in the Fifth Ward, these pipes are starting to break now. So it seems like we always have road detours on the Fifth Ward. And what we're doing is, and it's like a little section of pipe would break, but we're fixing the whole thing. So to answer that question, we're going above and beyond that little break. We're replacing the whole line. So those lines should last our lifetime.
So what do you believe are the challenges that you're going to face in the Fifth Ward?
Obviously, you have the safety, you have the potholes, obviously my big eyesore, my big complaint from my residents, as everybody on this thing probably sees, is the speed cameras that are on Bella Vista, Shenley, every school zone. I believe in school safety. I just don't like money grabs, and I think that's where we're heading with that.
So give us your closing statement, sir.
I'm a complete novice in the political field, and what you get with me is brutal honesty. It doesn't matter if it hurts me or not. I'm going to be honest, and it's either going to be good or bad, and it doesn't matter. But I really appreciate another 4 years on this term. I would just do whatever I possibly could. And to the question that I heard you ask everybody is why I'm running, and if you can see, that's why. It's my grandkids. That's why I'm running.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for being a part of our forum for today and taking time out to be with us today. You have a fantastic evening.
Thank
okay.
You. Jim, hello. I didn't get to properly introduce myself. Hello. Thank you again.
All right. We have another young lady, Carrie Watson, who is also running for Fifth Ward. So we want to give you a minute and a half to introduce yourself. We'll have 5 minutes of questions and your answers, and then a 1 minute for closing statement beginning now. We can't hear you because you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I meant to do that. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and inviting me here today. My name is Carrie Watson, and I am running for Fifth Ward Council. I've been a resident in the Fifth Ward for more than 20 years. My husband and I moved here when we started our family. I have a son who graduated from Cheney High School, and I have 2 children who are currently attending Ursuline High School. I'm a teacher. I currently am teaching at Youngstown Community School in a 5th grade setting. I've been there for 7 years. I've been in education since 2002, and during that time, I've obtained my master's in literacy as well as in administration. I'm a member of Bridge of Hope Church, and I've attended that church my entire life. I pride myself on being a hard worker who is dedicated to doing my best. I'm a people person. I love to talk with people. I love to get together and solve problems. And I'm just excited to be here today for this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you so much. First question is, why do you want to be a Fifth Ward council person?
Well, I grew up in a home where opinions seem to always be flying through the house and about what's wrong and what things need to be done, but nobody seemed to really care enough to take the step and do something about it. So I've been teaching for all these years. I look out at this next generation, and I want to be involved in making a better place for the future generations. I feel a lot of things need to be changed, and I want to be a part of that.
The next question is, what do you believe are the challenges that you'll face in the Fifth Ward?
Some challenges that I'll face in the Fifth Ward. As far as what?
I have no clue. I can't throw something out there. Okay. just off the top of your head, what are the challenges that you have to deal with in that ward?
Okay. Making people happy. I'm a great listener, so I love to hear what people are struggling with. And as I said before, I want to find solutions to those issues. I don't know. We have lots of people complaining about different issues that are happening in the city, and I want to help them get to talk to the right people so that they can get the outcome that they want. I don't even think I'm answering your question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I got another one for you.
Okay.
If elected, what 3 things would you do to improve the 5th ward?
Okay. So, as I've been out on the streets talking with people, one of the concerns, as I believe was mentioned earlier, is the conditions of the sidewalks. As Jimmy Hughes was saying, it's currently not on the city to replace those, but I think that that's something that we do need to look into improving. Another issue that has been mentioned is these gas lines that are being torn up. The company that is completing the job at the current state that I've talked with people, they're not happy with the way they're leaving them. So, being that go-to person and finding out what the issue is, who do I talk to? Because they've reached out to, a couple people and had no answers. So just being that person that can dig down, take the time and find solutions to the problem.
With that being said, with the stimulus money, the ARP money, will you get community input?
Yes, absolutely. I was just at a meeting for the money that's being put into Boards Field, hearing the people and their concerns and being a part of that was amazing. So absolutely, that's something I do pride myself on. I'm a positive person, so I'm easily, people gravitate towards me. So I feel like it would be easy for me to talk to people. Let me get my hands. Yeah, so I think that I would absolutely be involved in making sure that people that want to voice their opinion are heard. And that's just it too. I think there's a lot of time that people are going into their homes and not really even thinking about what's happening in the city. And so that's what I want to be, an instrument in getting people involved, being that bridge to the people that are currently involved and getting more people involved.
With that being said, what will you do to improve the 5th ward?
I think that's just it. Create a space where people can voice their opinions, where they're going to be heard, and where those issues and concerns are going to be taken to the person that can do something about it if it's not myself.
Give us your closing statement.
My closing statement is, if elected, I will be elated to become the person that you would speak to and reach out to. I want to, have a monthly meeting where that space is available.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your hectic schedule to be a part of our political forum, and you have yourself a fantastic evening, okay?
Thank you, you as well.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We're going to bring Ricole back in. We need you to unmute, and then we're going to try this again. Give us a minute and a half of introduction, and then after that, we'll go through 5 minutes of questions and answers, and then 1 minute for you to give us your final statement. So, Ricole, we're in your hands. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ricole Tautone. I am your 2nd ward candidate, and I'm aware of the challenges that comes with this position, especially in the 2nd ward. And I plan to make a difference. Not only am I a resident, I'm a woman, a mother, an entrepreneur, and I believe having these titles mean that I'm fully capable of identifying and utilizing the resources that are available to us here in the 2nd ward. And I want to make sure that we use those to the best of our ability for the residents that lives here. because we're often forgot about over here, in my opinion.
All right, questions and answers. Here we go. If elected, what will you do to improve the second ward?
My top 3 priorities is to continue to work with residents, community leaders, businesses to think of innovative ways to address the food desert that we have here. Um, I have kind of started that process and working with Miss Kimberly Johnson in the Aisle One Mobile Grocery Store. So I would just like to improve that. Also work with my first ward city councilman because they have a part of my ward. You know, they are in a part of my side of town as well. So I would definitely work with my first ward councilman to help us create more ways to tackle this food desert problem. I would like to focus on economic development through training, job training, life and job skills, certifications, entrepreneurship, and education. I feel like when you mix all of those things together, it does create, economics. It allows us to bring money and opportunity and things of that nature. So I just want to continue to do that. I've done it already in my business. My business has helped 4 businesses bring in over $200,000. And those businesses are flourishing in the city and they are living as well. My business is a part of that. And then the last piece is safe and affordable housing, because once families are working and thriving, I want them to be able to find safe and affordable housing. So, and live just as if someone is in Canfield or Poland. So those are my top 3 priorities.
So, what are your thoughts or ideas for what used to be the McGuffey Plaza?
My thoughts and ideas around the McGuffey Plaza. I actually tried to take a stab at it myself. I did purchase a piece of property. The only thing that was standing there, I recently sold that to the Port Authority. And I want to just focus on some economic development. One of the things that I would like to focus on, because we don't have a hospital within the city where women can birth their children. I want to be able to create something where we can work with trained doulas and midwives and create a facility here, specifically the second ward. And with the proper research and the qualified people, I think this would be a good thing. So that's one thing I would like to address, because we have one of the highest Black infant mortality rates. And I believe we need to kind of, again, I say this all the time, we need to focus on us. And I don't think that that is happening when these women are having their children in other locations. So I would like to tackle that as well with those dollars. Again, I would like to work with the youth in entrepreneurship and financial literacy. I have a nonprofit where that is our focus. We've had several children start businesses within our own community. I would like to focus on the Little League football team that's here, the Youngstown Little Bears. I apologize, Randy. The Youngstown Little Bears, and because like Tracy said, there is discipline in sports. And just over the last year, those kids have made some great strides in their academics, in their lives. So I just want to be able to support and keep that going as well.
So, the last question is, what is your opinion regarding empty and deserted houses in your ward?
Empty and deserted houses, we're looking to, tackle that problem as well. If they're empty, I don't want to see them torn down. I would like to see them revitalized so that people could start to move into them. And to go back, I want to see the McGuffey. We're going to make sure and ensure that the McGuffey Plaza gets cleaned up and gets utilized, as well as Lincoln Oaks Plaza, Nick Bailey Park, and get the McGuffey Center open back up and focus on bringing residents to the second ward and make homes affordable so that they can live here and feel comfortable and safe. Because we have pretty safe neighborhoods here. So I just want to keep that up, continue to work with our community police officers to ensure that our residents feel safe in the homes that they're going to move into. One of the ideas that I was entertaining was a construction management program where we will work with various people in construction, to where you break it down. You work with painters, and we'll have guys come in and work with painters, guys come in and work with drywallers, be real specific, and then use that to help revitalize our neighborhoods here. And that way it keeps our dollars within our neighborhoods, and then it helps us to grow the money as well.
Give me your closing statement.
In my closing statement, I want to say that my vision for the Second Ward involves inclusion for all people with no regards to race, gender, age, or financial status. And I believe that the Second Ward is Youngstown's best kept secret. And on May 2nd, 2023, I ask for your vote to help build people, build community, and create change for the city I love, the community I serve, and the ward that I live in. And thank you guys for having me today.
Thank you so much, Ricole. We appreciate you. So glad we got all of those technical issues worked out so we could hear you crystal clear. You have a fantastic evening, okay?
You do the same. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now, at this time, what we're going to do is go to our 6th ward. And so we have Anita Davis here with us. And what I would like for you to do, Councilman Davis, is to take about a minute and a half to introduce yourself. Then we will have a 5-minute question and answer period, and then 1 minute for you to give us your closing statement. So go ahead and introduce yourself right now.
My name is Anita Davis, and I am the 6th Ward Council representative. I've been on City Council since 2016. I have been a lifelong resident of Youngstown, a lifelong Southsider, proud Southside warrior, and just let everybody know, and I'm not going anywhere. Okay, I love Youngstown. I'm proud of Youngstown. We've had a rough time, but it is getting better. So that's me, Anita Davis, just plain old person. Thank you.
Okay, we shall begin. Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I called you councilman instead of council person. Please
You
forgive
did,
me.
and I didn't correct you.
I
By
just got corrected. Okay.
the way, I prefer councilwoman. Okay.
Let me
Just to let you know,
write that
'cause-
down. That way I make sure I don't mess up.
Not
Okay.
council person. No offense,
Okay.
but I'm a woman. And
Council
I'm proud of being a
woman.
woman. Yep.
I
that's
got
just
you.
me.
I
Thank you.
got you. Okay. Let me ask this question. What do you think the challenges are in the 6th ward?
Oh, there are numerous. Number one, we have been so, I don't know for how many years. I know when I got on council that I felt as a resident of the 6th ward that I was part of the left behind. And that's one of the challenges, is to make sure that the 6th ward, and actually all of our neighborhoods, all of our wards, gets the attention that we need to get. In particular, there's no getting away from it. On the 6th ward, we've had a lot of homicides. On the 6th ward, we have a lot of poverty. On the 6th ward, we had 1/3 of the dilapidated, rundown houses that existed in the city of Youngstown. Those are major challenges. Our roads were shortchanged on being paved. Our sidewalks, and I'm gonna go back to, and our residents just did not feel safe, I don't think, in their homes, feeling safe and comfortable to come outside their house like they should. So as a challenge, there are numerous challenges, but none of them that cannot be overcome.
Next question is, when people call you, why are you so hard to reach?
I am absolutely not hard to reach. I will tell you that. I challenge you. Wait a minute. I am not hard to reach. End of story. I keep a cell phone with me. I know my phone is on 6 days a week. If you call me on Sunday, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm probably not gonna pick up my phone. I do not answer the phone. I try to avoid my city council stuff on Sundays. I am not hard to reach. I have a monthly town hall meeting. I am here on Facebook constantly. I receive text messages, and if someone says that it's hard, I'm hard to reach, then they're mistaken. And by the way, for anyone who says I'm not hard to reach, I will go up there and bring you 10 people who say, I'm the easiest person around to reach. I am here.
Next question
No,
is,
I don't know how to put it more clearly than that. I'm not hard to reach.
I got you.
330-207-0302. adavis@youngstownohio.gov.
That takes care of that, don't it?
There you go.
Okay. What are your plans about that Shell gas station on Avondale?
Okay, well, the Shell gas station, I hate to do this. I'm afraid to do this because I don't want to jinx us. Okay. The Shell gas station has quieted down a lot. We did not shut it down because it did so many things that I wanted it to do, to come into compliance and come into a state of symmetry and oneness with the rest of the community. We had a sit-down meeting with the owners of the Shell station, the administration, in the mayor's office, the law department, the police chief, myself as well. We told them, you got to get your act together. And they have done a decent job of getting their act together. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But that place was just a hot mess for the past 15 to 20 years. And I can say that right now it has quieted down. And like I said, I don't like to brag about it because I'm afraid that I'm going to jinx it. But citywide, our homicide rate has come down, our violent crime has come down, and likewise here in the 6th Ward. I mean, last year, in 2021, we had, I think it was 8 homicides here in the 6th Ward. 8. A couple of them were up on Market Street, and the Shell was a destination point as well. Last year, 2022, by boosting some of the patrols and bringing some innovative ideas, working with the police chief and getting the Shell station to put up the necessary cameras and things like that everyone knows are up there. We have cameras all around up that way. And we have brought it down. We had 3 homicides last year. 3 homicides. Is that a lot? Absolutely it is, because it is a lot. But it sure is a big decrease from where it was before, as well as the robberies and the burglaries and the felonious assaults. They have all come down.
Well, give me your closing statement, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Reverend. And thank you again. And Kim, thank you too. My closing statement is that I have been working for you all along. I made a promise at the very beginning. I asked my folks at Coffee and Conversations, which I do every month. I said, give me a chance. Trust me. Know that I will not leave you behind. You will not be cast off. The resources of the city are your resources. You deserve them equitably, okay? And not just to the special areas, but to all of the 6th Ward, because there were parts of the 6th Ward that were left behind. I know how it felt because I was a part of that left behind 6th Ward. I give you my word. Continue to work with me. I will continue to work with you. And I give you my word. I'm going to try my best to make this the best ward there is in the city, without a doubt.
Well,
I thank you, Reverend.
Yes, ma'am.
For having me.
Listen, thank you so much for sharing with us on tonight. We appreciate you, and we want you to have a fantastic evening. Okay,
Reverend.
Yes, ma'am.
This is not politics here. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, Newport Library, the Climate Control Committee meeting.
I got you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Janet Tarpley is having some kind of technical difficulties. I see that it comes up and says that her device is not connected. So we're going to move on. Kim, I'm sorry, you're the troubleshooter, okay? And I don't see at this time Adams Jack that's here, but we have Josie Lyons who is here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring her into the studio. We're going to give you a minute and a half to introduce yourself. And then we are going to have 5 minutes of questions and answers. And then after that, we will have 1 minute for you to give us your closing statement. So Josie, just jump on in there and tell us something about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, Pastor Harrison and Kim. My name is Josie Lyon, and I have lived here in the 7th Ward of Youngstown for the past 25 years with my husband, Michael. We have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. I am president of the Detroit Pemberton Neighborhood Association here in my neighborhood for the past 5 years. And then I've also been president of a nonprofit in our ward, the 7th Ward Citizens Coalition. I also serve on the board of the Youngstown Neighborhood Leaders. I'm a member of OCA and I attend Old North Church. I enjoy volunteering. I enjoy being involved with my community, and that's why I'm here.
Well, thank you so much, Josie. And we're going to begin our question and answer period. So my question to you is, why do you want to be 7th Ward council person?
I would like to be 7th Ward council person because I've enjoyed working alongside the residents and business owners and organizations here in the 7th Ward over the past 4 or 5 years. And I just believe that being an elected official is being a public servant, and I just want to serve as I lead. And I do believe that differences have been made in my leadership, and things have been maintained, and I would like to continue doing so in a larger capacity.
So the next question is, what are the challenges of the 7th Ward?
The challenges in the 7th Ward, there's pretty much a top 2 or 3. One of them is a safety that could either be crime safety or just the safety of being able. We have people in our neighborhood that walk, ride their bike. We have moms with strollers. We have people with wheelchairs. I know sidewalks have been brought up as a safety issue. But also, again, there's been the crime aspect of the safety issue. We do have some quality of life issues, such as we do have litter and just things that need repaired. So those are some of the challenges that we do face in the 7th Ward, and I do believe that they could definitely be worked on, and I believe they can be improved.
Okay. If reelected, what would you do in your first 6 months?
If I was elected in my first 6 months, I'm going to implement a 5 minutes with the councilwoman. And then I'm also going to commit to doing a bi-monthly article in our coalition newsletter. I would like to hear from the residents what their concerns are, what they would like to see me do, because I believe that I need to represent the people best by hearing from them what they would like me to do. So those are 2 factors that I'm going to implement if elected.
Let me apologize for saying re-elected. That's what was on my sheet. I was just reading what was there. Okay.
Yeah,
that was not a prophetic moment. Okay. I needed
thought that's what you said, but that's why I restated that if I was elected.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. When it comes down to the federal ARP money, what's your thoughts concerning the 7th Ward for those revenues?
Well, I think we need to be good stewards city-wise of ARP monies, as well as the residents here and constituents in my ward. I do believe that we would like to use those monies responsibly for longevity, things that could save the city and thus far the residents money. There are something I've been researching recently is green infrastructure. So that's using plant life and trees to mitigate sometimes too much water, such as flooding, and it can also help streets and sidewalks not erode as quickly, and it can also beautify a neighborhood as well. So I think that's one idea that I am no expert on, but I am looking and researching because of the problems that we do have over here in the 7th Ward.
So would you include the ideas of the people in the ward when you're making decisions for the 7th Ward?
100%. Yes. And I think not all of us understand what's in the purview of a council person. So I would definitely share that information with the residents. But again, I feel the best way to serve and lead is to hear from the people that I'm representing in the ward. So I will welcome and encourage their input and see what ways that I can help them, what things we can continue to do together, and how I could lead that initiative.
So give us your closing statement.
Well, I just appreciate me being invited to this forum. I enjoy volunteering in my community. I was able to get a neighborhood success grant, which is the beautification of a lot here in my neighborhood. And I just continue to learn and develop relationships with different city officials, different city departments and department heads. I think communication is key, not just with the residents, but also with those who are caring for our city in different capacities, as well as organizations and businesses. So I thank you for my time, and I appreciate, I welcome anyone to come and meet with me, and I look forward to the election in November.
Thank you again so much for taking time out of your schedule to be a part of our forum. We really appreciate you being here, and you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Now we have the correct councilwoman, seated Councilwoman Adams Check. So what we're going to do is the same thing. Minute and a half introduction, 5 minutes question and answer, 1 minute to wrap up, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Pastor Harrison and Miss Kim. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and speak with you guys and speak for all those that are watching us virtually. My name is Basha Adamczak, and I am the current 7th Ward Councilwoman. I have lived in the 7th Ward for slightly over 35 years, and I actually want to take the opportunity to briefly tell my story for those of you that may not know. I actually came to the United States from Europe in the mid-'80s. At that time, when I came from Poland, Poland was a communist country. So coming to the United States, my family and I, we were just so grateful for all the freedoms and opportunities that this country gives us. So I have always been just fascinated and astounded with those opportunities, and have always liked to be involved and partake in civic engagement. So I want to take the opportunity to be able to give back to the community that allowed me to do so much. So I actually did attend high school here. I obtained both my bachelor and master's degrees. And then once I felt that I had a good foundation set, I decided to run for office. And one of my biggest priorities upon my first term was to make sure I was equitable. There is a big difference between equity and equality. Often that term is used interchangeably when it has a vast difference. My ward is very unique in the fact that we have two polar opposites. We have neighborhoods that are very stable, as well as neighborhoods that encompass the hotspot of the city. So it is important to make sure that we are able to help both of those, and that we are equitable so we can all be on a level playing field.
Thank you so much. Let's begin our questions, okay? The first question that I have for you, as 7th Ward Councilwoman, what have you done to improve the 7th Ward?
Thank you for that question. We have actually done a great bit. We have set records with the amount of things that we have been able to do in the 7th Ward. Previous to obtaining these ARP funds, the city always faced budgetary constraints. So doing so with collaboration with various organizations and nonprofits, we were able to obtain a multitude of grants. We were able to obtain close to $500,000 in park improvements improvements for the ward that we did not use general fund money, but in lieu, like I said, we were able to obtain grant funding. We have demolished an abundance of houses. We have been able to beautify neighborhoods. We have been able, to retain businesses as well as bring businesses into the ward. As an example, we had a church over in Brownlee Woods that left, and working with Habitat for Humanity, in lieu of them building a new facility in Canfield, they actually brought their headquarters, their Mahoning County headquarters, right here into the 7th Ward. So it's a combination of being able to work with residents, work with businesses, and making sure that we do things in the 7th Ward that help us here directly as well as citywide.
So with that being said, do you plan on involving the residents of the 7th Ward when deciding how to spend the ARP money?
Oh, absolutely. Upon the city receiving the ARP money, I and my colleagues noticed that a lot of the money is usually geared towards bigger projects. So we thought it was very important to be able to put money aside for neighborhood projects. And that's how we were allotted the $2 million per ward. Listening to the residents, one of their biggest priorities were quality of life issues. And in doing so, because of that, I have collaborated with an organization and with the city, and we are actually going to add a quality of life ambassador to the 7th Ward that is going to help with some of those code enforcement issues that we have. Also listening to residents regarding the sidewalk and improvements that are needing to be done with infrastructure. We're going to be paving more streets along with doing the sidewalks. I have committed to doing 1,000 blocks of sidewalks, and I actually believe myself and Councilman Hughes are doing the most out of all of the other parts of the city.
With that being said, what's some of the challenges that you face in your ward?
I think one of the biggest challenges, like I mentioned in the beginning, is the fact that we have just an array of different issues, because like I said, I have very stable neighborhoods, some of the most stable in the city, as well as the hot spots. So it's a balance of having to make sure that the stable neighborhoods remain stable, but then helping those neighborhoods that need extra assistance to become stable. We have a lot of issues with crime and safety, and while being on the safety committee for the city, we have allotted a lot of funding and resources to our YPD by giving the officers the body cameras. We have and are installing cameras in the neighborhoods that are able to monitor activity and crime activity, putting money aside to allow more officers to be hired, so that way we have the proper personnel and resources to help combat some of those crime issues that we do face.
And what makes you a good council person?
I think at this point now, it's experience. I think there's experience that is needed, especially now that have so much money and we're working with such a large budget. It's close to $190 million. I always take the time to listen to the residents, and then when there's a piece of legislation before us, I take the time to ask administration the proper questions, to really sit there and do the research to make sure that I am voting correctly, not just based off of how I feel myself, but as representing all of the residents in the ward. And I am not scared to go against, whether it's administration or against my colleagues, and to really stand up for what is correct and what is the best for the residents of the 7th Ward and citywide.
Give us your closing statement.
Well, I wanted to thank you again for the opportunity to being here. There is so much that has been done. We've been able to, do so much progress, but I have so many more ideas and so many projects that are in the works that I wanted to continue to follow through and make sure that those projects come to fruition. I have a great relationship with my colleagues and with the administration and the various stakeholders throughout the city. So we're able to make a lot of things come to the 7th Ward, a lot of investment come to the 7th Ward and citywide. And like I said, I just want to make sure to be able to follow through and see those projects, through the end, and continue being able to represent the constituents.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman, for coming on and sharing with us on tonight. And again, as we have said to everybody else, you have yourself a fantastic evening. And thank you again for your participation.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Now we're running a little over because of some of the technical difficulties that we have had. So what I'm trying to see is if Janet Tarpley is on. Janet, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to have a minute and a half for you to give us your opening statement. Then we'll have 5 minutes question and answer, and then 1 minute for you to give us your closing statement. So introduce yourself at this time, Janet.
Sure. I'm Janet Tarpley. I'm running for the 6th Ward City Council. I was 6th Ward Council for 8 years between, I would call the Renaissance years of the city, and that was between 2008 and 2015. We did a lot of great work, and I'm running to try to continue to see those things prosper, more movement in the 6th Ward. When I was 6th Ward Councilwoman, I actually was really developing the Uptown. We had 2 Dollar Generals at that time. We had a sandwich shop, a soul food restaurant, Bell Bondsman, and I had a landscaping business that I helped create. So I believe that I can continue to do that job, and even especially with the ARP funds, if there's going to be some left by the time I get there, I think I could do a lot with that. My top priorities are residential services, also housing, senior housing, and also housing development. And I really want to push the skilled trades because I believe that we got to rebuild our 6th Ward middle class. And I believe that not everybody's going to go to college, but everybody can have a skill and everybody can have a pretty good job. So those are the things that I would like to do.
Okay, you answered some of the questions that were on here in your introduction. Okay, but I have a few. I have a few. So let me ask you this. Excuse me. What do you believe are the challenges of the 6th Ward?
Well, I think one of them is just the complete rebuilding of the 6th Ward. We have 3 major corridors in the 6th Ward. That's Glenwood, Market Street, and South Avenue. Those are business districts that I think are different than maybe any other wards outside of maybe the north side. But the good thing at the north side, they have the college that can help, that's helping them. When we look on the city south side, we really don't have any anchors there that can really help us. So everything we do, we're going to do it from scratch.
So in that doing from scratch, what are some of your plans for improvement?
Well, one of the things I would like to do, I like to have a revolving loan fund program for businesses. I believe that our banking system hasn't been fair when it comes to minority banks, when it comes to minorities and giving them monies for housing and for businesses. You know, there's a Community Reinvestment Act that I don't believe that people have been holding these banks accountable or their feet to the fire. Well, once I become councilwoman, I'm going to do that because that's the only way that we can actually build and rebuild the city, be it housing and or business. We're going to have the banks loosen their strings and not give us more than what we asked for, but what they already say they're going to give us.
Okay. With that being said, then, do you intend to ask the people of the 6th Ward what improvements they would like to see?
Yes, I do. I've already have done that. And one of the things that they're talking about is what I heard everybody already say, sidewalks. You know, that our people we have an aging population throughout the whole city. And then those is not aging, they're young folks who don't have any money. So we need a sidewalk program. We had a sidewalk program when I was in office, and I did several $1,000 worth of sidewalks. So that's something that can be done. If we want to do it as a group, we can get it done. So it's been done already. I wouldn't mind doing it again.
So,
and the other problem is the other thing is still the housing issue. You know, when you have and when we talk about crime, and there's all kinds of there's several reasons for the crime. Of course, is It's quality of life issues that we're not addressing. But when you talk about quality of life, there's so many different things that's under that. And one is housing, because when you have a child that's coming from a stable home, and that means that they're staying there, then they can plant roots there. They can start to connect to their home, they connect to their neighborhood, they connect to their community. And so when you connect to something, you don't want to destroy it. You want to embrace it and be proud of it. So those are the things that we have to build.
So, if elected, what are your thoughts on the spending of the federal stimulus money, the ARP money?
Well, one of the things that I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, I'm hearing that there's still money that haven't been allocated. In one sense, it's good. In another sense, it isn't. Because all the funds that we have, we are never going to get this again. And we got so much need that we should know where we're going with it. I'm hoping, but by the time that I get in office, that we can do that. I would like to see if we put private money together with public funds. I think we can stretch it more, and we can get more for the bang from our buck. And that's what I would like to do. And so whenever I can do that, whether it's a senior housing, I currently have a guy right now who wants to do senior housing. But if I can get some of the ARP money to help them, if I can get some HUD money to help them, those are the things I want to do, because then not only can we do a senior housing, then we can do housing, period, in the ward, because he would love to go further. When we're talking about, we keep hearing this food desert. Well, we had some stores. And when I was in office last time, I talked to a store, and they was willing to come. However, at that time, the administration wasn't willing to subsidize the store. Now, you don't have to subsidize something forever, but sometimes you might need to do that until the store can start to see a profit, and then we can move out. If we do those things, I think we'll be more business friendly, and that people will start to come, more business will come to our city. And then people can also, more people will come to live.
Give us your closing statement.
My closing statement. Well, I believe the people of Youngstown is the most important asset that we have. And I think that it's time to really invest in them. While I'm on city council, that is what I plan to do. I plan to work with my other council members, because you need at least 4 votes to get anything done. And from what I'm seeing, we all are saying almost the same thing. So there should be no reason why we can't work together to move the city ahead. So I'm hoping on May the 2nd that the people in the 6th Ward will look at me and say, hey, she did it before, she can do it again, and believe in me and vote Janet Tarpley May 2nd.
Janet, we want to thank you so much for taking time. We're so glad we got those technical issues worked out so that
Me
we can
too.
hear from you.
I am too. Thank you for being so patient. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. You have a fantastic evening, okay?
You as well, Pastor.
All right.
Okay, take care.
Well, with that being said, we have one more person that is going to come before us. And Kim, let me see. I'm going to unmute you. And now we're in your hands.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I would just like to say, on behalf of the entire core team ministry, we would like to thank all the candidates who participated in our forum this evening. Listening to what the candidates had to say and being able to put a face with a name makes our voters more informed as they go to the polls and vote for those candidates that they think best represent the citizens of the city of Youngstown. So I would also like to give out a couple dates to remember. And the dates are, the deadline for voter registration is April 3rd for the May primary. Early in-person absentee voting begins on April 4th, and applications for absentee ballots must be received by the close of business on April 25th. So please keep all those important dates in mind, and also remember that all votes matter and all votes count. Everybody have a blessed evening.
Kim, thank you so much. I want to thank God for the core team who always does a tremendous job in making sure that we get the information out to the community. We also want to share with you that on a week from tonight, on that Monday night, Community Mobilization Coalition is going to have their political forum that's going to take place at the New Bethel Baptist Church. It begins at 6:30 p.m. And so it will be in person. So you'll be going to the old sanctuary of the New Bethel Baptist Church, 6:30 p.m. And Community Mob will share with you and share with those candidates as well, because you just can't get enough information. The more you know, the more you know, the more you know. Please share, tell people, get out and vote. Tell them that's a sorry excuse to sit at home and say primaries mean nothing. Every election counts. Every time you can go to the polls counts. And we want to make sure that we make sure our vote counts, because there are people counting on us not voting. Listen, y'all have a blessed evening. Thank those candidates and those seated persons. Thank you again, core team, Kim. Thank you for everyone, Gelada, that participated. Thank you, one and all. And our prayer is that when you, that's right, as Gelada just said, make sure you take your ID. Has to be an appropriate ID, or you're going to get your feelings hurt. So we got to do what we got to do. So it's important that we do so. Thank you. We start on time, we end on time, but we wanted to make sure that we got those technical issues taken care of. Y'all have a fantastic evening. We love and appreciate each and every one of you. May God bless you. May he keep you is our prayer.